Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next The Promised Neverland anime review. This one's going to be for episode 8, and this was a fantastic episode. This is definitely one of, if not the best episodes of The Promised Neverland we've had up to now. And it's because it just adapts very, very good material. Even in the manga, this section is extremely eventful, and I thought they captured it really well here in the anime. If you could really state what this episode is about in one sentence, it is just Isabella finally makes her move, and she makes a lot of those moves, and it just it sort of reveals in a way why she's kind of been so much in the background for so long. It explains more than just okay, she runs this really good farm. This explains to us why she's in charge of this one, why she has such respect with the higher-ups and so on, because what she manages to do here, basically in the space of one episode, is just turn what was an escape, literally just about to happen, into everything's kind of in her favor, and she seems to have complete control of the situation again. And that was really, really impressive to see. And I think a lot of that worked, and it only worked because we haven't been really seeing a ton of Isabella, and especially, I suppose, the real Isabella, the one that isn't acting in some way, because I suppose the key thing here is that it kind of revealed that she knew kind of Ray was a traitor against her for a while, so even those scenes where it seemed like it was the real her was also her acting. But yeah, so many things happen here. We get the death of Crone, so Crone wasn't just sent off to be the mom somewhere else. She was sent off to her death. She gets rid of Ray as being her kind of undercover agent, and then most notably stops the escape in its tracks completely by one, breaking Emma's leg, and then revealing to Norman that he's actually going to be the next one shipped out. So the two hearts, basically, of the escape are just gone. Emma physically kind of can't go now. Who knows how long it will take to recover. And now Norman suddenly is the one that they're kind of having to protect, and he's going to go anytime now. So it changes everything now. The plan that was, obviously had its ups and downs along the way, but seemed like it was reaching a conclusion. Now, where do they go from here? How do they begin to act from here now that they don't have a kind of someone behind the scenes in Ray? He's kind of gone. He can't be as effective as he once was. Now Norman's going to have the fear of being the next one shipped out. Emma just has to recover through all of this, and this episode is so good because it's a real game changer for the series. And I think I love how it all sort of links together in that Crone goes out and you feel some sympathy for her, and she gets at least that opportunity to sort of, she leaves behind something that could give them a chance to escape. We don't really know the full scope of it just yet from this episode, but the significance of the pen and what she left behind. I think it's in Ray's kind of desk she left it behind in, and she, just as she goes out, wishes for them to escape because of, in a way, the tragedy of what happened to her, that she just got caught up in the politics here and has been killed for it. Which I suppose helps to explain a bit of what exactly they were talking about in the previous episode, with her not really having the evidence to prove to any of the higher-ups that there was an escape about to happen here, and them having such faith in Isabella as well, that her being the one to, I suppose, reveal this information doesn't really get treated all that seriously, because Isabella's got it covered. You thought you were playing a game, she's 10 steps ahead of you, which is exactly the situation that we get here. But the other thing with Crone's, I suppose, was that we get her backstory here. As she's basically about to be killed, eaten by this demon, we cut to basically kind of silent flashbacks. They just visually show us, I suppose, a montage of where she goes, basically from being granted the opportunity to become a mom, the mom training, which seems to consist of like self-defense, the kind of standard homemaking kind of skills, the getting the kind of heart kind of electric thing transplanted into her, and so on. But notably again, it's also that she does get that pen. She sees one of the doctor guys like drop it, and she goes in and gets it, and that's one of the things she leaves behind for the kids. And I suppose you should have wondered, like, what's the significance of that pen and what's going on there? But the fact is, she takes it for a reason, and she thinks there's something significant relating to it. And it was just kind of meant to show of like, I suppose the tragedy of like Crone came from their position. She was, had the choice to be shipped out to become a mom. She chose to survive, a very reasonable choice. And how she went from being kind of not so good at a lot of the stuff to eventually, getting there and now becoming ambitious. And I suppose here's where she suddenly meets her match against Isabella, who's basically implied to be the best of the best. And we see that here in multiple ways, just the intelligence, but then also the physical skills of just that. Okay, this explains why they have the physical defense training of like, yeah, she just broke Emma's leg there with no real problem. That's just pretty crazy that happened. But yeah, the actual, I suppose, death scene, pretty brutal. Like the point of this show isn't really to like show that sort of stuff. That's why again they sort of have the breaking of the leg sort of happen off screen, and in the same way here of like she gets stabbed basically off screen, and they show the, I suppose, darkness of it by just having the kind of flower blooming bit and coming back to her afterwards after she's dead. So it worked to be just like the situation of here was someone playing all these games but came from their position, and now as she is kind of losing the game, wishing that something bad happens to Isabella, basically, that the kids escape so that Isabella gets in trouble. She did this to me. I'll do everything I can on the way out to stop this from happening. We also got to see Grandma a little bit, and apart from just being the standard authority figure, being one of the higher ups, there wasn't a whole lot to say. We got a very brief little flashback sequence with her, just kind of talking about how, like the control that they seem to have, and that she just watches on really casually as there's just a girl basically standing up on top of the wall. And I maybe I need to watch it again, but I think the implication was that was Isabella, perhaps, but I'm not entirely sure. But just the whole idea of the really good moms in this series seem to just have such control that they can handle things like their kids finding out about the secret, or just them looking at stuff outside the walls. They can control it like to that degree. So there was a lot of very interesting sequences kind of going on there, which I suppose led into the next kind of big thing, which was Ray and that whole reveal coming out. She just comes out and says to Ray, "I've got rid of Crone," and he's shocked. He goes up to the room, and that's where she reveals to him that, I'm basically firing you. I'm getting rid of you. I don't need you anymore. And just, kind of insults him on the way out. He really panics at this point because this has really taken him by surprise. And in that's a bit of a shocking thing, because Ray, of like all the characters, has seemed one of the most in control. And here he is in kind of panic mode. Their plan in tatters at this point, and here he is kind of getting fired basically here, found out that even Mom calls him sort of traitorous in this situation. So and then I think especially like her attitude in the aftermath of that, like when she reveals that and then goes ahead to stop Norman and Emma, just the attitude that she has when she gets there is really interesting, in that the way she kind of goes up immediately and it's just like, I finally get to talk to you without acting for the first time, and just introduces herself, just like says hello to them as like, this is the true, all three of us for the first time. No secrets, finally meeting each other for the first time. And how she she's so sort of entrenched in the way that this works with regards to, this is the farm system, you're the food, this is just the way it is. Why don't you just make it easy on yourselves and live the happiest lives possible up until you die? And she's not at all accepting that, you know, like Emma says, that they want to live free even if it means suffering. That for Isabella, in a way, she's fine with accepting the sort of darker aspects of this role because it's a reasonably comfortable life. And for Isabella, seemingly, the outside world, that's the more kind of stressful situation. So I found it interesting of her trying to convince them in that way by basically saying, you can live a happy life up to a certain point, and justifying it even with like Connie, who was only like 6 or something, and saying that, yeah, for all those years that she was here, she was happy right up until the moment she died. Death was the quick part, a tiny aspect of an otherwise happy life. And just Norman and Emma in this scene being utterly unable to accept that, and that's why they go against her plan and go to have the escape thing. Emma rushes up to keep her in position, and as Norman's doing what he's doing, Emma's on the ground. You hear the big crack, you cut to her leg at this kind of, the way they showed it was just obviously the kind of big swelling around the area, and then her leg just very much looking kind of out of position. It's not, they don't do the crazy angle thing or anything like that. It's just, it's offset clearly in some way, and it's a pretty bad break. And it's amazing how, like, you know, in other shows, like a broken arm or anything like that wouldn't be like too bad. It's like, okay, that's an injury, that's fine. But here, this is this devastating injury, and like in a show with like demons and stuff like that, the fact that something as simple as a broken leg can just be this like terrifying thing. Because I think the thing you almost forget is that the characters are really young here. Like 12 is like the max age for the kids here, and you know, this broken leg is a pretty serious thing. And when Mom carries Emma back and they see this broken leg, it's, you know, it kind of sickens everyone because of they're so not used to that. They live such a kind of sheltered life in a way because of all the lies, that this injury is really shocking for them all. So yeah, and then they add on to that, it's not just the injury, but her just casually revealing that, oh yeah, Norman, your shipment date has been set. Just ending on this note of like, I foiled your attempt, and now the smartest kid in here, he's the next one being taken out. It's just this like hammer blow to the entire kind of where the series has been going. And I think that's what this episode accomplished. It was just like, okay, now we really and truly understand why Isabella is like one of the high up moms, one of the most well respected, why she gets to run the plant where the kind of highest potential kids are kept. Here is her making all of these moves and having complete control of the situation. But again, there is still the little bits and pieces along the way, primarily the crone leaving a piece of information behind kind of situation that could still give hope for them. So yeah, that's my review for the episode. In the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on this episode. Did you like it as much as I did? But yeah, that's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.